Filmworks, the #1 show in the interweb. Very special show. You guys remember we did the Point Break review a while back. So without further ado, you know what's going on here. I'm Ross. Please subscribe to youtube.com/planetxfilm. Very special shout out to Lauren Lepre of Average Superstar TV. Go subscribe there as well. I think our top 5 of 2024 is dropping over there tomorrow. And we'll have some more announcements between PXF and myself and Lauren coming out soon. Without further ado, making his PXF debut, international man of mystery, the man, the myth, the legend. You've seen him in Point Break. You've seen him in Tombstone, North Shore. John Philbin, actor extraordinaire, pro surfer.
What an honor to be on the #1 show on the internet.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be a high for both of us. But yeah, just want to thank you again for making your debut here, John. Mostly, I'm not going to lie to you, it's mostly a Point Break audience here on my channel, fanatics of the film here. So, but fanatics. I want to go back even before Point Break. You know, in my mind, I'm always thinking about the ex-presidents. I'm always thinking about them as characters. But I think it's even a more interesting conversation to have is, you know, how did the ex-presidents come together? You know, what did these actors do to kind of create these characters? And in the point of you and Bo Jesse Christopher, you guys were actually pro surfers. So one thing I noticed that comes up a lot when you look up Point Break, where did the ex-presidents and John Philbin come from, is a film that you made, I believe it's '87, called North Shore.
Yep. What, you want me to talk about that?
Yeah, just like the origin of Nathaniel's character and kind of, you know, going from North Shore.
I mean, I don't know that North Shore, the only thing that North Shore may have contributed to Nathaniel in Point Break is that I believe the guy that originally cast me in the movie may have seen my work in North Shore and gone and called Randall Kleiser and said, hey, this guy that plays Turtle, you know, he's a great character. Can he surf and can he act? I mean, that might have happened, but I'll never know.
Sure.
But, you know, I've played, you know, different surfers in different movies. None of them have anything remotely to do with, you know, they're not similar characters. There's as many different surfers as there are, you know, bank robbers. You know, I know there was one time I did wear an article of wardrobe that I wore in North Shore, I wore in Point Break. That's the only connection between Turtle and Nathaniel in Point Break. The only connection between Turtle from North Shore and Nathaniel from Point Break is that in one scene, I wore one article of clothing that, you know, in each movie, and that was a batik jacket that I got in Indonesia. And I wore it like in the contest scene in North Shore when we're huddled together and Rick Kane is going to get his instructions and all the best pipeline surfers in the world are there. And I also wore it, I think, at the fireplace scene with Bodie and Bo Jesse Christopher, where we're all talking about big waves and, you know, how we want to die and stuff. Yeah, that's the only connection.
I love that connection. It's an absolutely iconic fire scene in Point Break, by the way. Well, I mean, maybe just break down North Shore a little bit. So you play Turtle. I want to say, so I watched one of your YouTube interviews recently, and it was like the usual thing, like John Philbin, Point Break, Tombstone, blah, blah, blah. I saw 10 comments that said he's Turtle in North Shore. Like your North Shore fan base is still out there and still representing for you. So
yeah, that fan base is growing thanks mostly to this Listen to Turtle, which is a website and a store and a movement really that this girl Cindy up in Ventura started, and she's a fan of North Shore and and her whole family is, and she started this kind of thing called Listen to Turtle, and they use, you know, my face a lot of, and she's really good on the intraweb, and so she's expanded the brand of North Shore like way farther than I ever would or could. And she's brought a second, third, fourth life to me and my friends who were in the movie, Matt Adler and Gregory Harrison and all of us have benefited in terms of, people watching, people watching the movie based on Cindy from Listen to Turtle. Listen to Turtle has done more for, the promotion of North Shore than anything, than Universal Studios, really. It's gotten a much bigger life now through these are like second generation fans. I don't think they were born when we made the movie, but it's become a cult thing, and it's crossed into 3 generations. And she's Cindy from Listen to Turtle. Man, she has done so much for me and everybody in North Shore, because she's really brought a lot of love to it, and she also let us see where the love, how much love there was out there. Look at that shirt, the ex-presidents. Wow.
Of course,
how do you get a shirt? Like, where'd you get that shirt?
I think I got it on Amazon. I'm a Bodie fan. No disrespect to Nathaniel, but I'm a big Bodie fanboy.
Of course. So is Nathaniel.
Yeah, of course, man. North Shore was amazing. I thought it was incredible. Just obviously the shooting out there in Hawaii. I know that you've done like several films out there. Did you move out there to Hawaii at one point? And John has an extensive surfing background.
Yeah, I kind of tried to. I spent a lot of time out there, and there was a time when I was just floating around. I didn't know what to do. I wasn't working as an actor, but I really wanted to write my classic surf film. I really wanted to write epic surf film, based on my experience on Point Break and North Shore, of filming on the North Shore. I kind of fell in love with the culture of the North Shore of Oahu, and I lived over there behind Charlie Walker's shack, where we actually filmed North Shore. I went and visited them on this Christmas. I went back there and had lunch, brunch with Charlie Walker and his wife Tracy and his daughter Izzy, and it's her birthday today. Happy birthday, Izzy. But that family's been nice to me for 40 years, and so I was in love with the culture, and I went there and I wrote what I think is just a great screenplay about surfing, pro surfing and the culture. And I tried so hard to get it made, but I just couldn't get it made. It was very frustrating. I didn't know what I was doing with my life. That's a big investment of time, like years. And I was like trying to teach surfing part-time, but that was a hardcore. All I ever, I always just, after that movie, I just wanted to be one of the boys on the, North Shore, but I'll never be one of the boys. I just won't, I'm an actor from Hollywood who loves to surf. And a lot of people fall in love with the North Shore, and I mean the location. I don't mean the movie, the location.
Yeah.
And it's a special place. And I tried to, live over there for a while, but it was not for me. I wish I could, but I could, I wish I could have a second home over there, but that would have been a fucking dream, man, to have bought a second place over there. Because now it's just out of the question. It's so expensive.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. But so be it. I mean, I did kind of try for a little while. I have, tried to assimilate into the culture, but it's not the easiest place in the world to live if you don't have a lot of money. It's hard. It's hard.
Sure. Absolutely. Now we should.
I didn't know I was kind of floating around, but I finally found my place in the world, and where my place is on the North Shore and where my place is in California.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack with what you brought up there. I mean, for one, we should look into maybe, if you still have the script, maybe getting it crowdfunded. I mean, you're like the Hollywood surf instructor, in my opinion. I know you did. You were like an advisor on Blue Crush. I'm gonna get your website and everything plugged in the description under the video, by the way, when the interview's done. So I know you were out there working on that for a long time, and I do have kind of more questions about the spirituality and some of your other cameos and stuff. But I'm gonna go straight into pretty much the Point Break stuff right here, which is probably what my audience. They're already starting in the chat with Children of the Corn and all that stuff. We got it all coming up later, guys. But I wanted to ask, so like, are you still in contact with like Bo Jesse or any of the guys from the crew?
Yeah, Bo Jesse and James LeGros are the other two ex-presidents that are alive, and we are in contact all the time, like mostly through social media. And sometimes we get to see each other, we're friends and we'll be friends for life. But, mostly through Facebook and Instagram, liking other people's things and saying hi and are you okay? And how's it going? And like, hey, they're doing a screening or whatever, you know, do you want to go to this screening or stuff like that? And so we're friends.
Yeah, no, it's awesome you brought up the screening because they did one, I think it was last summer here in San Diego, and Peter Iliff came. So I actually got a chance to ask Peter a question, so that was like my big highlight of my Point Break. But that guy's
great.
He's awesome. I mean, of course, an incredible writer. So my question was, and this is a bit of a random one, but it is Point Break related, if you could believe that. Has anyone ever brought up this to you or Bo, Jesse, any of you guys? Have you guys ever heard of the video game series Payday?
No.
Anybody ever bring that? Okay, so Payday, it's very influenced by Point Break. It's 4 guys that wear suits, and instead of president masks, they wear clown masks. But they rob banks and they do jewelry heists and other kind of shops. It's like it's actually pretty big online with a lot of Point Break influence. So it just kind of took the genre into another direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I think Kathryn Bigelow is responsible for, she created these images that are so powerful and people love them so much that they take from them. And that's the world, but she was she's an original thinker, she's,
100%.
She's kind of like a genius.
100%.
So
yeah.
She's not imitating anyone. She creates these things that are just mind blowing and they just reverberate into the culture. So Point Break's one of those things.
Sure. I couldn't agree more, and I'm glad you brought her up. I actually do have a question about Kathryn later on. But yeah, I just it's for those of us that are like looking for kind of that new school, old school Point Break feeling. We kind of play Payday online. So there you go for all the Payday heads there. Just going back to the origin of the film, getting your Nathaniel role, maybe just a little bit of background of how you landed the role.
Well, originally that movie was called Riders on the Storm, and in 1989 or 88 or something, I got cast. I went in and met Ridley Scott, I think was directing it. Might have been Tony Scott, but I met him and I read for Bodie, and I read twice, and I read in the room with him, and it went very well. And I had just come off something I did really good work in, and the studios I was studio approved, and he sent me an offer to play not Bodie but Nathaniel in Riders on the Storm. And my agent took it, and I said, like, fuck, I've made it. This is going to be the greatest movie of all time. It was with Charlie Sheen at the time and Ridley Scott, and I was like, this is going to be so good. My part was bigger and it was deeper and it was longer, and I was just going, fuck yes, my life. And about 3 months later, my agent called me and said, hey, because I was working on something else, that movie's been dropped. That studio's been sold, and the movie on their slate has been dropped. I was like, fuck, I'm doomed. I was like on the top of the mountain, and then I was in the bottom going, what am I going to do now? That's the actor's life. And and like, I think 4 months later, I'd forgotten about it. I was like, God, that was a dream come true for, a couple months, in the hope and the wish and the looking forward to it. And some other studio, it got dropped and picked up by another studio with a different director, a woman, Kathryn Bigelow, who I didn't know, and an actor, Patrick Swayze, who I knew very well from working with on Grandview USA. And then, Keanu Reeves, who I was surprised at that casting. But I was offered Nathaniel again. I was like, well, do they want to meet me? She's like, they offered you the same part. They want you to play that part. No, the script's changed. But then I'm like, well, yeah, I'd love to meet her. Like, I'll come in and meet her. You don't have to. No, I want to. I came in and I was like promoting myself and trying to sell, but I had the job. And she was literally, I almost talked myself out of the role. She's like a lot of women say to me, just stop talking, like, don't
take yes for an answer.
Don't talk anymore. Why are you? So it was funny. I've done that a couple times, tried to talk myself right out of a job, but it was different. And but I used the script from Riders on the Storm to inform the character that I played in Point Break, and I fell in love with Keanu Reeves. That guy was fucking amazing. And then Patrick Swayze became our father figure, and he just took care of us all. He took us skydiving, he took us water skiing, he took us up to his house, he took us to meet his Arabian horses, he called us on the phone every night, and it was a beautiful experience with him and with Keanu. I'll cherish it. At the time, I was probably, I wasn't a good enough actor to just kind of pretend to be something I wasn't, between action and cut. So I was really kind of a dick during kind of toxic, I guess, masculinity. We were working out a lot and starving ourselves, and I was fucking pissed. And I was a surfer, and I was playing a different, I hate surfers, I love surfing, but I hate surfers, and I get to play a bunch of different kinds of surfers. And this guy's nothing like Turtle. He's a full criminal mind, doesn't have a problem killing somebody, just wants what he wants, and worships Bodhi, and is jealous and fiercely protective of him. And that's just he just was a tough nut, but it was really, if I had my life to go over again, all those hours I spent being Nathaniel, I would have spent some more time being John Philbin and getting to know some of those actors, for who they were and stuff. And then knowing that I could then step into a guy that was the real deal. Point Break, they were smart for casting. I mean, I'm a surfer, so I'm an actor too, but I'm a surfer. So when I'm playing a surfer, it's like the cameras are rolling and there's people around and I don't give a fuck, I'm the real deal. So it's there's a different vibe coming out of my character in that movie. It's just like when a cowboy, he's like, I'm a real deal. I'm the real deal when it comes
to John Wayne or something.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not, you can't touch me with the reality's all the way to the bone. Because I'm into it, core surfer. So she did good job in casting me in that movie. I'm really fucking proud of her. She did such a good job.
I feel like they wanted the authenticity, and I feel like we got it, especially with you and Bo Jesse. It's like I told you at the beginning, I've watched it probably at least 50 times, and all I ever think about are the ex-presidents. I never really spent much time thinking about you guys being pro surfers and making that role so realistic for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When you say pro surfers, I have to, Bo might have been a pro, but I was never. I'm only a professional surfer in that I've been paid to surf in movies.
Gotcha.
I was never paid to surf in contests. I never won a contest surfing and got paid. I did get a trophy.
Just went straight production.
Yeah, I don't know. I love when people say I'm a pro surfer. It's my website's called Pro Surf Instruction, but I was never a CT or a WSL. I never competed in surfing except when I was in college at UC Santa Barbara, and I only did that for 1 year. Sure. And I wasn't very good at it, but I loved surfing,
Well, you were better at making surfing movies, which could give you a little bit. I had so many questions, and you covered so many things in your answers. It's perfectly fine. So the '86, Scott production, they looked at Depp, they looked at Kilmer, they looked at Sheen for they were calling it Johnny Utah back then, and that was actually the question I asked Ilif. Basically what I wanted to get out of him was did he have more attachment to that Scott production, or was he just fine with the way things turned out? I think, the answer he kind of gave was he's a writer and you kind of just go with the process as they tell you it gets greenlit or whatever. So I can understand that.
That's a good question for him.
Yeah. But I mean, I was wondering the same thing with you too. So I was watching the bonus features and you kind of mentioned it in the featurettes there. So I was that's why I was kind of I don't know, should I ask him that? Cause he clearly said it on the bonus, but then you brought it up anyway. So I was hey, we'll roll with it. There's a couple questions here that are good. You guys know I'm not, super take questions out of the chat, especially in this situation, but my friend Rick, he always wondered how long the surfing scenes took to shoot and how difficult were they. I imagine not that varying in difficulty for some of you.
Well, we that's a second unit that would shoot we had to go to Hawaii for all the surfing film. The land is all Malibu and the surfing in the ocean is all Hawaii, North Shore of Oahu. Brian Keolana. We had blockers and we had the best cameramen and the best surf photographers in the world that Hollywood could afford. Once we went over there and we got shut down, there were no waves. We came back to LA and then we went back there again and there were tons of waves and we got a lot of footage. And, you surf as long as you can. They've got blockers to help you catch waves. They got cameramen who know exactly what you look like. So every wave you go, someone films it. it wasn't that hard but to get 4 of us on a wave together, on any given day on a big, good wave together, that was not easy. And it took us a couple tries, a couple of days, a couple of different sessions out there to surfing with Matt Archibald, and Bo Jesse's a great surfer, and I'm an okay surfer compared to them. And then we had another stunt double. I'm not sure who it was, but yeah, it was not the easiest thing in the world to get done, but we did it. And it's definitely, without a doubt, the fun part of the job is, okay, now you're going to go surf pipeline. Okay. I mean, I remember how excited I was and telling Bo, because I'd done it before on North Shore. What an incredible once in a lifetime, unless you're me, experience it is to surf pipeline with blockers for a Hollywood movie. When waves, you wouldn't even be able to get near some of these waves on a normal day, but you've got the guys that live to surf that place on either side of you, taking you over and telling everybody, we're going on this wave, and then they pull back and you get to go. It's just, and I was going, Bo, this is the best day of your life, but yeah, that was a dream come true kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Really good question, Rick. I hesitate to say just as good, if not better than some of my own. You brought him up, earlier, superstar, got to be in the GOAT conversation, working with Patrick Swayze on 2 films, because Point Break was your second film with him, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the first one was Grandview, USA, that Randall Kleiser directed with Jamie Lee Curtis and Tommy Howell. It was a great cast, man. And he played this guy in this demolition thing who was dating Jamie Lee, and he was just super nice, really cool, full on cowboy, like at the time, like gnarly cowboy guy, and nice to me. So when we started Point Break, it was like, oh, I have a kind of an in with that movie star sitting in the corner, passing around the wand, playing this, mystic Bodhi guy, like, and by the end it was like, this guy's my best friend. It's kind of like a feeling, it's crazy.
I believe it. Yeah, no, it's, I mean, you could just tell from the scenes, how good the chemistry was, on set. And I definitely, have some questions about that. So just getting right into some of the backstories, like, you mentioned the toxic masculinity earlier. I know Pat blew up his knee in the football sequence. And they said, like, he was just getting his knee drained and just showing up to set the next day and doing it again. Just a complete beast.
Yeah. I mean, we'd be in scenes that I knew we weren't on camera. Yeah, like we had moved outside of the action. Let's say the camera was following the ball, or it started on Patrick, then it moved to Keanu. And he'd be throwing blocks at 100%. I'd be like, dude, we're not even on camera. He goes, so was that? Like, he didn't distinguish between we're doing this action at 100%. He doesn't hold back, and he can work in pain. And I'm not that, I was like, that's a whole different caliber for me. Like, I'm like, that's not,
Yeah, you're going to take it easy when it's not even on screen.
I don't think tackle football off camera, it's just not my sport. Now off camera, I remember wrestling everybody on the crew. I wrestled every actor on the set, like during that football night. That's why I was in such good shape and so angry, because I hadn't wrestled since high school. But it wasn't jiu-jitsu. But I was like, I've never been in better shape. I was, when you're in that kind of shape, like, come here.
Bring it on.
Fuck yeah.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, just, obviously, Patrick being a legend. So becoming certified and doing these 55 jumps, and it's all on the bonus features, but production's basically telling Patrick, you can't tell that risk. And he's kind of just like doing whatever he wants because he's an adrenaline addict. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we went skydiving. The stories, and the best thing you could do is watch those special features, like on Point Break and stuff. And me and Bo Jesse's tour of Malibu and stuff. It's just great.
Yep.
Yeah. Patrick Swayze invited us skydiving. He doesn't, and we're just saying yes. And when the producers say you can't do that anymore, we're like, oh, we can't do it anymore. All right. And then Patrick goes, well, I'm going. You come with me. We're like going, okay, he's our man. We're gonna do whatever he says, basically. Yep. So we just kept going with him. Yeah, I'm glad we did. That's a story. There's a story about it.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I believe I read, if I don't have this wrong, so the plane, there was obviously worries about Patrick and the insurance from the studio, and then the
Yeah.
plane. That plane went down, I think, with some skydivers a year later, which is
killed like 7 skydivers, his instructor, my instructor, like and it happens a lot.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it happens a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah.
And it tragically happened to the guys that we worked with.
Yeah, that's super unfortunate. Rest in peace to those guys. But it's just like I can kind of understand the studio's worry for insuring Pat, whereas he's such a big name, and it's like got to protect him. But
100%. Every actor, once you've established him on film, it has to be insurable. Not just Patrick, but us. Like we weren't allowed to go up in those planes are not insured. They're waiting to go. They're going to break down and crash any. In fact, when you go up in one of those planes, have you ever skydived? They basically put a parachute. You can't go up without a parachute on. Like they're saying, like, okay, now when this thing crashes, when this thing shuts down and it's going to crash, everybody has to get out of the plane. And this is how you do it. It's called a hop and pop. They teach you. You go out, flare, pull. It's a hop and pop because this plane's going down. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday soon. Could be any day because it's not insured.
Yeah, absolutely. That's wild, and a lot of that is covered in the behind the scenes, like John was.
Like I'm repeating all the behind the scenes. I just haven't seen that in 25 years.
Yeah, no, that's not what I mean. Yeah, I mean if people want like more, because I had a lot of Patrick's perspective, and obviously that's really the only place you can get that. So of course he went straight from like they were so worried about me diving, but no one ever said anything to me about surfing. And then so when he broke the ribs, I don't know if that was in a specific scene or if it was just the repeated getting hit by the waves, but I know Pat got.
I wear a paddle vest even, like to protect my ribs now. But Patrick had this dancer's body, his rib cage came out, and he was thin, and he'd arch his back like this and paddle, and you bruise your ribs. It feels like you've broken them when you paddle on a surfboard and you're not used to it and you're not wearing a wetsuit and you haven't done it before. And so he's like, we need to carve this board out or something for my ribs. Or people didn't really understand how they could help actors at the time. They hadn't done enough Hollywood surf movies to learn how to work with actors in surfing, to make it so they don't hurt themselves. So that's kind of one of the reasons I got into teaching surfing. When I stopped acting, I didn't know how to do anything except I knew how to work with actors who were making surf movies because I knew I'd worked on the biggest ones. So I'd know some of the problems and some of what they can and can't film and some of the issues that were going to come up. But I feel, man, that guy had to work in pain for so much of his life. Same in Roadhouse, and fuck. Can you imagine working with broken ribs? Oh my God, it hurts so much. But surfing cracks your ribs. There's a lot of pain involved and suffering involved when you're trying to learn how to surf, and there's no way around it if you want to film certain aspects of surfing. But nowadays there's ways that you can just teach people how to do the things that they can learn how to do by the time they have to be camera ready. And there's certain things they'll never know how to do by the time they're camera ready. They just take too much, 1,000 hours,
Absolutely. Yeah. Just got to have the reps in. Yeah. Everything you said stands. Like what from Pat was saying, it looked like, they had tried to put the padding on the suits and stuff like that, but he was just like, nothing was really helping. The damage was already done. And you know what I mean? It's like, don't skydive, but by the way, watch out for those waves that we're going to be having you guys hit pretty much in every scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pretty wild. Talking about his injuries. Going back to like what you were talking about, which is like the chemistry on set and stuff like that. I'm just wondering what was the vibe among the ex-presidents and the cast. Like, you said obviously Kathryn was amazing. Were you guys feeling like a hit? Obviously the energy was up. I mean, there's, like you've said this before, there's no way to know you're making a good movie, but I'm guessing that you guys felt the energy was up on this one,
Kathryn let us see some dailies, like let us see the skydiving dailies and stuff. Let us see some dailies. She's so cool and comfortable and confident, and she respected actors and artists. And I just remember walking out of the skydiving stuff going, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. That skydiving stuff, Patrick and Keanu, and in that van, and fucking how gnarly that shit was riding up to that. It's such a moment in the film where all these knucklehead surfers get together and let we own you now. You know, you're lucky to be alive.
Oh, yeah.
We could kill you like that. And I can't believe we didn't, but my character cannot believe we didn't kill that guy. But that's unrealistic. But it's a Hollywood movie. Hollywood doesn't do reality. Hollywood does fantasy. So he had to live for stuff. But that was so heavy and so gnarly. And our cinematographer, Don Peterman, and Kathryn Bigelow put together a look of this film with long lenses and stuff. And I would look at it and go, that is fucking magnificent looking. And Patrick Swayze, I'm a surfer, right? And he's playing this Bodhi, this metaphysical surfer. And Keanu's a kook. He doesn't know shit, about surfing or anything. Mm-hmm. So it's not really, so it's a weird thing for a real surfer to see actors who aren't surfers say these lines, because I'm very skeptical. Surfers are very judgmental and they're very, protective of their thing. And all they see is Hollywood trashing their sport,
exploiting it
and then not representing it truthfully at all in any way and ever, hardly ever, except Big Wednesday did a really good job. I thought, that's my favorite surf movie, but Kathryn is such a good director. I was like, this is a cop and robber movie.
Yeah.
And there's Gary Busey, who played one of the surfers in the best surf movie ever made, This is a cop and robber movie. And it just happens. And I'll bring the verisimilitude to the surfing, in the gang. I was like, I'll be the real deal. And Bo's the real deal. And James Grove's such a good actor. Fuck, that guy's such a good actor that he can do anything. He played Nixon.
Yeah.
He can do anything. So, and he surfed a lot with us, actually. But anyway, I knew that movie had something special when I saw the chase scenes. And I just thought this is going to be a big action movie.
Yeah, but that's what I like about it.
Listen, there's no way. I mean, it's more popular today than it was then. It wasn't like, oh, this movie's the coolest cult movie ever. It didn't come out like that.
Right.
It came out like, oh, Keanu Reeves got something. Maybe he could be a movie star. Kathryn Bigelow cast this guy that all he plays is stoners. Nobody takes him seriously, but she took him seriously. And look, there he is standing next to Patrick Swayze, and who's a certified international movie star. And now your eyes are going from Keanu to Patrick, and Keanu and Patrick, and they're getting equal attention. They both have that thing that movie stars have. It's a talent. Can't teach it. They are interesting to watch on film. Yeah, and she saw it for anybody, and then he got to go on and be in action movies, and look at his career and how cool he is. And Patrick had become a movie star again because Ghost had come out while we were filming and went to the #1 movie in the world. While we're filming Point Break, we're like, hey, you're a movie star, like top of the mountain again. But he had been there before, so he didn't let him go. It didn't go to his head. He was the same guy. Cost a lot more money to film him day by day when they did reshoots, but
that I love that final scene, of course, with the hair change. Easily one of the best.
What a gift that was to have to go back and reshoot that when you're thinking, oh, this is going to cost a fortune, and then they come back together, and you're like, God, that was the best thing that ever happened. That made the movie amazing. Seems so real and so cool.
Yeah, of course. One of the best action endings of all time. And you brought her up multiple times, but like in a lot of the other, Point Break coverage, she's not really brought up as much as I think she should be, or as much as I would like. But Kathryn Bigelow, obviously James Cameron executive producing and trying to find the project to her to develop it for her. But you spoke about it a little bit a couple times, but just like whatever impression she left on you, what was it like working with her?
I am lucky. I feel lucky and grateful to have been a part of that. She'll never know how much I respected her, because at the time I was a guy who was like, I knew everything, right? It was very hard had a very hard surface, and very selfish and self-centered in my approach to that role. But and dark, and kind of had a dark thing about me. But that shows that comes out. I mean, comes out in the movie. There's a dark, hard edge to that character that's inaccessible in ways, But
sure, absolutely.
God, she was so patient with us, and she was so respectful. And you just don't get that a lot in directors these days anyway. She had a humility, even though she was so smart, smartest, most artistic, genius person around, but she was super humble and patient, and so she could get what she wanted from us. Well, a bunch of guys. She's a woman. She's directing a bunch of macho guys in an action film, and she's winning Academy Awards for it. There's no one like her. She way ahead of the curve, right? Now that they were talking about, women directors, like they've been talking about it for like 10 years. This is 30 years ago.
Yep. She's 91. Yeah. Or when it drops, 91. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, as a fan, as a watcher, from what I can see, she's the one who tied it all together, creates the, Reeves Swayze dynamic, just everybody from you guys being the four heisters to, Busey being a legend, it's like she got that, and everyone got their shine, you know what I mean? Even with a lot of characters, it's like,
and Lori Petty was fucking killed it. Like she's beautiful, she's still alive. We're survivors.
I mean, the cameos, rest in peace to Tom Sizemore, Edith from Red Hot Chili Peppers. Just like, you can almost make the argument it's an ensemble cast.
Yeah, it's great. She did it's all Kathryn Bigelow. It's all Kathryn Bigelow. And, I got to say, Peter Iliff wrote a screenplay that has got legs, it's survived. Sure. It's iconic.
Yeah.
So whether or not you thought that those lines are cheesy or corny or homoerotic or whatever, they're iconic now. They're part of the lexicon of film and certainly of surfing.
Yeah.
So
and you really caught that.
I hope he didn't lose his house in the Palisades. Yeah.
No, shout out to everybody. Definitely our prayers to everybody in the fires. Obviously, tough times down here in SoCal. It's kind of crazy that we're doing it. It's like, I feel like it's the perfect time right now, John, because Carter lying in wait last week. Nathaniel's the Carter mask, and then inauguration day on Monday, and like I'm interviewing John and Philbin right in between them.
We're all connected, bro. We're all connected in this thing. We're in the
crazy
zone.
Irony, I guess.
Carter, my man, like the last surviving, the last president to go, man. What a hero.
Yeah, just the right time for the Philbin interview on PXF here, I guess, which is amazing. There was a couple questions in the chat. I think somebody was probably similar to my question about Swayze. Somebody was asking you about working with Reeves. Obviously, you mentioned him, and action. I would even argue martial arts superstar at the current climate.
Yeah.
And just an all-around legend. I mean, his resume speaks for itself.
Yeah. The only thing I'd say about Keanu Reeves is that he lives up to all the hype you read about him online, about how nice and compassionate and cool and, smart.
Humble.
Maybe I don't think people talk about how smart he is, though. I think he might have a photographic memory. I remember giving him a book called Tapping the Source Code. I think a lot of this comes from this source literature, by Kem Nunn. And it was on my bed like 2 days later. And you didn't have time to read it. I know you're busy. He goes, no, I read it. I like that part when, and he just says quotes some part identical from like three quarters into it. And I'm like, fuck, that guy read a book in a day, like while he's the lead in a film, while he's training with weapons, gym and surfing and being
going over lines.
He read a book some actor gave him that he doesn't know from Adam, but I think he liked it, but he read it. I think, you hang out with him, and he's very nice to let people hang out with him, but he's usually the smartest guy in the room, but he never lets anybody know that. And I think it's because he's interested in everything, and everything he reads, he's got in his brain, so, all philosophy, all astrophysics, nuclear science, like everything he understands. And, but he'd never let you know.
Yeah, he doesn't really go on and on about it. No, I mean, I totally believe it. So I don't know if you've kept up with like the John Wick franchise, but in that last movie,
I'm a fan.
Incredible. So they cut, like, I think they had early versions, and I don't know if it was his decision or him and the director Chad. They're like really close friends to cut most of his dialogue. So they kind of made that last one like almost like he was like a samurai, you know, very, very limited speaking. And then, you know, the same thing like we were saying about Pat with the injuries, you know, Keanu was saying like he would love to do John Wick 5, but like his knees, he's had all these knee injuries now. And it's just look what he goes through in those movies. I mean, it's not hard to believe that he's got these injuries and made 4 of them already, you know? It's like, guy's a machine.
Yeah, amazing.
Absolutely machine. Definitely shout out to that. So getting near the end of the Point Break questions, but I just want to ask because like I have to know, like, do you have a favorite scene in the movie? Maybe you have a couple. I don't know.
Do I have a favorite? You know, no one's ever asked me that question. I mean, I like watching the skydiving. I like when we get off that. I like when we show up to the airport in the morning.
Yep.
I like when we show up at his house in the truck.
Yep.
And we're going to kidnap him.
Pull him out of bed.
Pull him out of bed. And I like the whole skydiving. I like when we get off it. I tell him how to get out of his thing. He goes to work, and we go to pack and get ready to rob a bank, knowing that we'll have an accomplice is in the FBI pretty soon. Dead, or he'll either be dead or he'll be with us. And I love that fucking scene. You know, I just love it. I like getting shot by Gary Busey at the airport because I'm wearing a G-Land shirt, you know, and like this is my favorite place to surf in the world. And I've been going to Bobby's G-Land surf camp all my life. And I got to wear the shirt, and I think I might talk about it, you know, in the movie. And I love that Gary Busey, the masochist, shoots Turtle, John Philbin, in a G-Land shirt in Point Break. And if that is a connection of every surf movie, you know, I've admired or been in. And I love that connection. Yeah,
I heard you mention that's like an amalgamation of the apex of all the surf characters. And I haven't seen that Busey. That's on me. I need to go back and watch that one. But I'll definitely check it. But the G-Land shirt was awesome. I watched the interview with your friend, and you were talking about that. And I was like, that's an Easter egg that got by me. I didn't even know what that was until you explained it. You know what I mean? I was like, wow, that's another thing Philbin kind of hid in the end of the movie when Nathaniel's final scene. Spoiler, you know, John's character doesn't make it. Sorry if you guys need that spoiler in 91 from 91. But I mean, the part when you guys pass around the chute when Utah, that he thinks like it's sabotaged or whatever, and you guys just flip it back and forth, like that was sick. Bodie's rock and roll when he masks up out of the. I mean, there's so many moments. Probably that last heist when Bodie wants to hit the vault, and it's like the first time hitting the vault. Probably one of my favorites when things go wrong and the security guard, you know, you guys get in the shootout with the whatever they are, civilians.
Yeah.
I mean, take your pick. There's at least 20 amazing scenes in the movie. Of course, I'm sure my audience has seen them all. Yeah, I mean, unless you have any final thoughts on Point Break, it looks like people in the chat are moving on to some of your other stuff. I see Children of the Corn here, so we can.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything I need to say about Point Break other than that the remake sucked.
Oh, okay. So I'm glad you queued that up for me because one thing that we do on my channel here when we do reviews is go super hard on unnecessary remakes to 90s classics.
Shit. What a fucking terrible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, this is John Philbin saying it now. This is not me saying it now, and my audience is very used to me saying what you're saying right now. So, okay, that doesn't exist to me. That will never be mentioned on my channel, except for what you just said about there. I'm a purist. I won't acknowledge it. But I did hear one thing, and it may have been with your interview with Lauren Lepre on Average Superstar TV. And this is the first time anything ever got my attention that I would acknowledge in that spectrum is when John Philbin said that if they hit you up, you would come back to play an older FBI agent. Until you said that, I had never heard a good idea for a Point Break, anything, sequel or remake. But I actually like that idea. If you and Bo Jesse were coming back to play the older agents, I'm going to be real with you. I would watch it. Only because it's you guys. Only because it's you guys, though.
Yeah, it's hard for actors to turn down work. It's not the actor's fault. It's the filmmaker.
Nah, I mean, I got what you meant. It's just but with us, us purist fans, though, we're Lauren says it all the time. Don't make Point Break and put cell phones in it and just do everything that was against the first one, Of course, we have our go get the 4K Ultra Disc, guys.
I want to get that.
showing that. I love the back with the dollars. Of course, the kind of 3D version of the poster. I'm not a crook. Yeah, of course. But yeah, now everything John says about the remake, I co-sign. But like I said, now if John's coming back and some of the original guys are coming back, I'll watch it. That's the only way I'm watching though, is with you guys. So
yeah, that'd be different.
I think that's a good way to go out of Point Break. So let's go to Children of the Corn. So I'm a New Englander. I'm from Boston. I've had like some of my buddies have ran into Steven, downtown in Boston. He's around all the time. I'm just wondering, before you got like the Amos role, did you know about Stephen King and the book, or was it they just hit you up for the movie and it was kind of like that?
No, I hadn't. I might have read it or something, but I hadn't read any. I wasn't a Stephen King fan, only because I didn't read. I wasn't reading his novels.
Right.
At that time of my life, I just graduated college. Sure. All I was doing was theater, reading plays, and that was the first movie I ever got cast in. Stephen King had nothing to do with the production of that movie. And he didn't really give it his seal of approval either. It had something to do with some technical business job about contracts. But, as it turns out, 40 years later, this little short story he wrote, Children of the Corn, that it wasn't a part of the film or the production, turns out to be a cult classic, that people are still talking about. So, yeah, he's had a lot of successes in his life, and Children of the Corn is one of them.
Yeah. I mean, he's had many successes, but again, very infamous. Of course, I know Children of the Corn. Like I said, I know Steven's stuff being well from New England. I always forget that that's Linda Hamilton. I mean, the Linda Hamilton from Terminator 2, Superstar. Every time I watched it, I've probably seen it 3 or 4 times. I just always forget until I have it on. Like, oh my God, that's Linda Hamilton.
Yeah.
Like it's just.
When she was I do these horror conventions where I get together with the cast and the director. People ask questions, and the director always comes up with something. He goes, "Yeah, Linda Hamilton, when we were making that movie 40 years ago, they were asking her, if she was going to do this sci-fi cartoon, and she came to me and she said, yeah, they want me to do this sci-fi cartoon, and it's with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's like a bodybuilder, and I guess he wants to be an actor now, and I don't know." And the director's like, "I wouldn't do that, and I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. That sounds terrible." Like a first-time director, he hasn't really done anything, and it's about the future. And Arnold, this bodybuilder plays like a robot sci-fi. I don't know. And he's like, "I don't think that's a good idea," but she decided to do it anyway. And the rest is history.
Yeah, Terminator, the biggest action franchise ever. Judgment Day, I think maybe top grossing action
R-rated movie. Take the job.
I've heard her speak about it before, where she's like, "Yeah, I didn't really like." She's done interviews with Arnold. She's like, "I didn't really want to work with him when they first asked me." Like,
who would? Yeah, he's really great. He does a cameo in The Long Goodbye, which is one of my favorite detective movies set in Hollywood, Malibu and the Hollywood Hills. The Long Goodbye. It's so good, and Arnold makes a cameo.
That's awesome.
He wanted to get it. He wanted to work in front of the camera, in front of movies. When he came out here, he does a cameo in that is worth the whole movie.
I'll check it out. That's amazing.
It's worth the whole movie to see what he does in that movie.
I'm an Arnold fanatic. I mean, James Cameron as well, of course. A legend here. I'm not really sure if there's anyone above the name in terms of brand. With him executive producing Point Break, did you ever meet James, or did you ever come on?
I met him. I would go over to Kathryn Bigelow's house, and with James Cameron, she'd be living with him in the Hollywood Hills. Actually, it's not far from where I live now. And I would bring them script rewrite ideas I had. That's how arrogant I was. I was so arrogant. I'd take a script. This would be better if he said this here, and I'd bring them pages, and with my shirt off in jeans.
Yeah.
And I just remember how they would look at me, and I could tell that I was doing something, I must have appeared insane. How do you go? I think I might, be crazy right now, but I'm not. I think I need to keep going with this act, this arrogant. Because I remember people making fun of the surfers that would come in that were actual surfers. They come in, they just want gas money, because they had to drive up from San Clemente, and they're so dumb and so arrogant and so. They don't have anything interesting to say, and they feel, and you can get the vibe from them is that they're better than you,
So you want to use a little bit of that for Nathaniel?
So I was bringing that into my game. I know.
I love it.
I'm going to give you guys, do you a favor and give you some suggestions for your scripts, James Cameron and Kathryn Bigelow. And by the way, I don't need to wear a shirt when I go anywhere. Just fucking this dumb fucking surfer arrogance, that I kept through pretty much the whole production.
You fully embraced it. I mean, James
Oh, I
Cameron,
went
it's
for
not
it,
like he
bro.
writes anything good, so
I embraced it.
probably the top name.
So embarrassing now, but true.
So good behind the scenes though for the interview. I don't know how you guys are feeling in the chat. I'm in a Tombstone mood. I just watched it.
Whoa.
It's really difficult to ask a Tombstone question because the film is just so perfect. What do you even say about it? I'm just going to say, like, your thoughts on being with that ensemble cast. I don't know if there's a movie with a better ensemble cast than Tombstone, just working with those guys, working with so many legends.
Well, that's it, right? There's no better cast put together ever. And the person that gets credit for that is the original writer, Kevin Jarre, who wrote that screenplay, and he assembled that cast. He was going to direct it. And it's only because those parts are so brilliant, that all those actors said yes to a first-time director.
I didn't even know that. That's amazing.
These are movie stars going like, wow, you're a first-time director, but you want me to play, this part like an ERP? Like, yeah, I'll do. You know what? I'll do it. I'll take a chance on you because Kevin Jarre was so smart and so interesting of a person. He didn't turn out to be the director the film needed. And he got replaced by George Cosmatos. And a lot of those actors never would have done it for George Cosmatos, but they hung on. They had already fallen in love with their characters. They'd already fallen in love with the relationships they'd formed based on, the stuff they'd shot already in the rehearsals with Kevin Jarre and all their inner work on their roles, and it was hard for them to go, fuck it, I'm not doing this anymore.
Agreed.
So they all came back, even though a lot of their parts were made smaller. My part was expanded a little bit. I was pretty happy, but I was like, hey, my part, I got 2 extra lines, but those guys are the best actors, and so the movie's a fucking hit. Who knows? When you're making that movie, you're thinking like, oh, Kevin Costner movie's going to be better. He's got, and then we were also
time production, right?
We were also allowed to go see the dailies on that movie, and the director was, the Cowboys would sit on one side and the Earps would sit on the other side, and when you'd watch Val Kilmer
awesome.
And the shootout at the OK Corral work, and we walked out there going, this is fucking great.
I guess the juxtaposition here is like, even though the point of Point Break was Bodie's risking all of his best friends' lives to do the crime, and you guys are robbing banks, it's a bad thing. You guys were so cool that I don't think any of us would really have been mad if you guys had won. And I think the same thing goes for Tombstone. The Cowboys were so cool that even though you knew that they were the bad guys, you were kind of 50-50 on who you wanted to get in the end.
I'm glad you pulled that out of that film because Kevin Jarre wrote it that we were just businessmen doing our thing, and the Earth kind of invaded our territory and started telling us what to do. And we're like, who the fuck are you? You're not even from here. This is how we're doing it, And then those guys are bullies, right? And they become lawmen wearing badges and like beating us up and murder. My character was murdered at the OK Corral. That's how he is looked upon in Arizona.
Right.
History. I was murdered by these villains at the OK Corral. Those guys just came, took, and left. A curse upon them, a plague upon their families, I say. But when George Cosmatos took it over, he goes, hey, listen, there's too many actors in this movie. There's too many characters. We don't have time. There's good guys and there's bad guys. You're the bad guys. I'm like, how? We're the bad guys? Yeah, Red, you're the bad guys now. You're bad.
They came to our town,
Yeah, you're the bad guys now. I'm like, we're the bad guys? Like, so he did everything he could to make us the bad guys and the Earths to be the good guys. But that's not life. That's not how life was. But it's a movie.
Right. Yeah, and you got to have good versus evil for a narrative. Sure. No, but man, just to so Kurt, the Earps. It's of course Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer, Doc Holliday, Sam Elliott, Bill Paxton, who I love. He's just in so many good things. Even a bit of a Aliens reunion there with Paxton and Michael Bain, who I think is absolutely incredible.
How about that?
From his sci-fi career. And just Powers Booth. Michael Bain, Powers Booth. They're just so much talent. Yeah, Billy Bob Thornton cameo. They were asking you in the chat about the Jason Priestley cameo. Did you? I
love Jason Priestley, man.
Jason
he played this guy that loved this actor. He had a bigger part than Jason Priestley. Was so fucking cool, man. He's such a nice guy. Kurt Russell was trying to tell him about how he should keep some of his props and wardrobe from Beverly Hills 902. Kurt goes, "Hey man, I just want to say, I know you're on this. I was on some shows, when I was younger, and there's articles like when you get an opportunity, you should save some of these things, even though you don't think it means anything now. But I've gone to my garage and seen like I've gone online and seen some Disney cells for sale for like 50 grand. I was like, I think I've got like 150 of those in the garage. Like goes into the garage, they're all ruined.
Yeah.
He goes, so like, wardrobe, stuff like that. Like on the last day of filming Tombstone, I mean, Jason was super fucking cool. On the last day of filming Tombstone, the guy that played my brother, Robert Burke, played Frank McClowry, killed in the OK Corral. Kurt and him were in this trailer, and Kurt's just taking a bag full of stuff. And Robert's like, "What are you doing, Kurt?" And he goes, "What do you think? I'm stealing shit." The last day. He's no dummy. That guy's more experienced. He's made more movies than anyone on the planet. Yeah. I'm stealing shit.
I love that guy.
Because he knows. What a guy. What an icon.
I mean,
how good was he in that role, man? Fuck.
Oh my gosh, he was incredible. The whole movie is literally perfect, from cinematography to music to just the. So I want to ask about Doc Holliday. Was Val actually doing those trick shots with the quick draws? He learned all that stuff.
Yeah, he learned it all from
incredible.
Yeah, he's he played Jim Morrison, right? Like he can do anything.
Character actor, yeah. Method actor, rather.
He studies. A lot of actors have the ability. A real physical ability. They're not just athletes like Tom Cruise, but they're athletes plus the ability to do a lot of you see a lot of actors flipping coins and stuff.
Card games.
They can fucking do really good shit, and they just have that. A lot of actors. I don't, but he did. You watch guys who can do that draw thing. He trained a lot. He constantly training. And God, he was good. But, he didn't, there was one scene where all drinking, playing poker at night and, long time between takes, and Val's passing his flask around. It's the only time he was nice to the cast when he was still working. He was getting drunk and he was passing the flask. We were drinking out of his thing. And on the PA, no one really was paying attention, but a Doors song was playing. I looked over at Val, he took a drink, and then he went, yeah. And it was right when Jim Morrison screamed in a Doors song, and I went, "Oh my God, there's Jim Morrison!" All of a sudden, Jim Morrison, in Doc Holliday's costume, started singing at the table. It was a cool moment.
Parallel universe.
Parallel universe, yeah. Very meta.
Yes, that's amazing. I love it. I'm just like, oh man, I just the cast is just absolutely insane. Every performance really perfect. I mean, obviously I saw you in there. It just must have been amazing. I mean, the legends you've worked with, from Kurt Russell to Patrick Swayze, you know what I mean? It's just absolutely incredible.
I've been lucky. I've been very lucky. I've been very lucky to work with these directors and these actors. Very lucky, and I really am grateful for it. They've all been great too, by the way.
Yeah, Tombstone was epic. I mean, how the finished product came out, I can only imagine. The set was just, you know what I mean, absolutely incredible to be working with those guys, and just so much talent on screen. I think we're going to switch gears a little bit, because I would be remiss if I didn't mention it for your horror fan base. How fun was it working on Return of the Dead?
So I think Thursday I'm going to Vegas for Return of the Living Dead reunion, and it's our 40-year anniversary, Return of the Living Dead. We're going to 10 conventions. Every month we're going to go to a different state and a different city, and meet the fans and stuff. That movie was crazy to work on, but it became this cult thing that is just impossible to predict or understand. I mean, I understand it. The movie had an energy that no one had seen before. The impact. Like Kathryn Bigelow, the writer director Dan O'Bannon was a genius in that and when I say genius, I mean a original thinker, original thought. Mm-hmm. He decided that a zombie movie could be a comedy set to punk rock, and no one had ever done that. So he created a new genre in cinema, comedy, zombie, a zombie. No one had ever done it. He did it. And, we didn't really understand it, because we'd never seen anything like it. Like, is this going to work? I don't get it. Next thing you know, it's like, it took 10 years, but people then, they're like, this is the fucking greatest zombie ever. So I love going around and meeting those fans. So I get together with the entire cast in Vegas this weekend, And I love those guys now. This is 40 years later. So it's fun.
Incredible. Yeah, that's the movie's absolutely hilarious. I mean, that muck monster in the basement. I mean, just so many classic moments. The acid rain and the mortuary, the whole thing with the cremation. Just amazing.
For horror fans, it's all, no computers didn't, we had no computers. So it's practical effects. And that's totally different. It's become really popular to do practical effects again. It's come back. And so that movie was, practical effects, amazing. Split corpse and half dog and Tarman and all this shit.
Classic, man.
Don't make movies like that anymore.
A great one. Good old Chuck. It was funny because I watched North Shore in the morning and then I watched Children of Corn at night. So it was kind of like Turtle, ran off and joined a cult or something. You know what I mean? Right. It's like, oh God, Turtle, don't do that. Don't go to the dark side. So when people look at your resume, general question, you've done sci-fi in some of your later stuff. You've got action thrillers, you've got westerns, you've got horror. I'm just that being said, pretty wide range for a surfer guy. Do you have a favorite genre to perform in?
Well, I mean, surfing, then western, then horror. I mean, there's nothing more fun than surfing, surfing in movies because you get privileged, because I hate crowds and I've had the best time playing surfers. Because North Shore is probably my favorite movie, but westerns, I love horses. I love riding horses. I love shooting guns. Mm-hmm. So, and it's like, we're going to play in a western. That's really fun. And, horror, I just like the genre because the fans are so huge. You did horror movies when you were younger because you needed a job and you wanted to learn how to work. And, they cast you because you were cheap. All the actors have done horror movies. Even Jamie Lee Curtis started in horror movies, and she ended up ending, she's doing pretty good, but she started in horror movies, it's pretty awesome. Linda Hamilton, they've all done these horror movies, and a lot of them, the fans are they've got this second life because of horror conventions that have come back around. And people who don't work as actors anymore can go to a horror convention and make more money than they ever made in any movie they ever did in a weekend meeting fans, because there's the appetite to meet them and get their autograph with the fans love horror more than any other genre. They just love horror. And that's why I love horror movies, because I've always loved horror movies too. I have always loved horror movies growing up and still today. It's a genre. It's not for everybody, but I'm kind of addicted to it. There's something special about it. But to act, it's really fun to act in a surfer or a cop thing or a western. Sure. Horror is kind of scary, but I fucking love being in horror movies. I'm just lucky I was ever in horror movies. I'm glad I got in horror movies when I was younger, 40 years ago. I'd like to do another one. Okay, ready, go.
Absolutely. No. Just to follow up then, do you have a favorite genre to watch, maybe outside of acting yourself?
I don't really have a favorite genre to watch. My favorite movie is a movie called Miller's Crossing, and it's about gangsters, and it's a Coen Brothers movie. Mm-hmm. And I just think the Coen Brothers make the most interesting movies. No Country for Old Men is a Coen Brothers movie.
Genius.
It's fucking great, but it's Cormac McCarthy wrote it. But the Coen Brothers make very interesting movies, and I just love good movies. I don't necessarily, sci-fi, horror, western, cops. I don't have a favorite genre. I love the John Wick series. Love it.
I love those.
Love it. But I don't have, and I love Mission Impossible. I love Mission Impossible.
Yep. Espionage
movies. I love them, but I don't like CGI, sci-fi movies so much.
Yeah.
It doesn't engage me. I like, anything Daniel Day-Lewis is in.
Oh yeah, Daniel Day is the best. I mean, so you seem like you're more like a practical effects, like natural set, 100%. Outdoor western kind of guy. I can.
Drama. I like dramas. Comedies can keep me alive during dark times. I love watching those guys. Will Ferrell, like anything that group of comedians has ever done is just. I can't take this call. Hold on. But I just like serious. Mostly generally speaking, I'll go see The Brutalist.
Yeah. No, I
I'm
think
that kind of guy.
from what I gather from what you said, I think we need the Coen brothers to hit you up for something. So Miller's Crossing, I got onto that late. What got me into that was I'm from Boston, so I'm a big fan of the Boondock Saints. You know,
Yeah.
they've got like kind of like the slow mo shootout, you know, things, and I always thought that effect was so amazing. And you know, everybody who knew, you know, where Troy Duffy got that, it's really the Miller's Crossing influence is where that came from, the slow mo shootouts. And they're like, hey, you know, one of my friend Mike O'Day, who was in The Equalizer, he knows, you know, Irish gangster films, like you were saying, really well. He's like, you need to watch Miller's Crossing. So I went watched that through the lens of Boondock Saints, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. You know, I was super late to the party, but I was like, yeah, this is an amazing film.
That's
you
the
know?
great thing about movies. You know, they're there forever. You know, you can discover a movie that's 20 years old and go, this is fucking gold. This is source material for all this shit. Like, this is better than anything they're making today.
Yep.
And it's fresh. It's new. It's like you've never seen it.
Yep, exactly. No, it was awesome to discover that one. So you've mentioned, you know, the spirituality of surfing, the philosophy. A little bit gets touched on Point Break with Bodie when he describes it to Johnny Utah of you know, the other crew that was only living to get radical. But you actually had a role that kind of encapsulated this yourself when you played the man by the sea in White Wolves, your cameo. So just break down the philosophy of surfing and those types of roles.
I mean, everybody's, you know, every surfer's different. There's no one philosophy of surfing. Some people, it's a sport they do to make money because when they were young, you know, they were good at it and their parents encouraged them. So they didn't play soccer or baseball. They're just competitive. They're trying to repeat maneuvers that a judge will rate highly in a contest situation. I can't identify with that. I can't relate to that. That's not what surfing is for me. And then there's other people that don't watch contests and they surf all around the world and they live for their feelings of surfing, you know, and soul surfers, you might call them, real ones, you know, and they don't have to buy anything that's promoted by surfers, you know, like, and that's a whole nother, and then there's everything in between, you know, there's a lot of people. I will say this. The only thing I want to talk about in surfing, there's just many, there's no one thing, is that I teach surfing. And I have clients that I've taught how to surf I teach adult beginners that have become so competent and they're so successful in their business lives, but they've fallen in love with surfing, the feeling of surfing. This one family, the Spaldings, they're from Denver. I met his Bart and you know, his wife Brianna, taught him how to surf in Malibu. They've since had 4 kids. Every little kid goes surfing with me now out at Rincon. And Bart will fly in on a private jet to Kelly Slater's surf ranch with a bunch of other ballers, captains of industry, and surf and get barreled. More than I've been, you know, get barreled front side and backside because it's that addicting and it's that great of a feeling. He can do anything he wants. You know, he's got money. He doesn't need any more of that. He loves, he's got this planet. He can do anything he wants on it. He loves surfing is so pleasurable that he loves the experience so much that his wife, who's a super athlete, I've watched her, you know, fly into Kelly Slater's ranch, go surfing and get barreled front side and backside. And it's like, so they've created wave pools where you can do that. And they've got people that they're so wealthy. You know, you think of Mark Zuckerberg or someone like that. Like you've got, you know, well, all they want to do is get barreled. That's how good surfing is. Like people can do anything they want, and what they really want. I mean, they'll go to Dubai and they'll do a job in Dubai, and you know they'll have to work with some Arabs and make a couple. They don't need any more money. What they want to do, the reason they're there, because they want to go to the wave park in Dubai and get barreled. That's why they're really there. And so I'm really happy about wave pools and the fact that I got to work with people and watch them fall in love with surfing for their own reasons and them have the resources to be able to go all around the world and surf great after learning as adults. Not when I was a kid, you had to be like a, you know, contractor to surf. You know, you had to be you had to surrender, you had to give up, sacrifice a career if you wanted to really be a surfer. Like I sacrificed a lot of my career in Hollywood. I sacrificed being a professional actor to surf. I'd get a job and then I'd immediately take that money and go to Indonesia and go surfing. I'd come back when I was ready. I figured there'd always be another job. That's not how Hollywood works for me.
Right.
You know, I chose, you know, that I was going to be a surfer and an actor. And so surfing has really taken over my life. It doesn't mean I'm any less of an actor. You know, I'm an overtrained, underemployed Hollywood, LA actor, but I love to surf. And it's meant a lot to me. It's done a lot for my career, and it's meant a lot to other people that I've worked with and taught to surf.
So did that cameo in White Wolves then kind of like encapsulate some of that
Oh,
spirituality?
I was like the old man in the sea. I was giving advice to this guy, you know, and I think it's something to do about experience and women and like, you know, I had a philosophy, but I was a ghost in his life. That was a movie about love, and this guy fell in love and somebody hurt him and he didn't know what to do. And I was just telling him not to be alone in his life. Like, it is a lonely, if you're just an old man in the sea living in your van and surfing and you've forsaken a family, and a lot of surfers have, you know, women don't want to pair up with a guy who's got no if he chose not to have an education and just commune with nature. If his wife was the ocean and it's like a sailor, and if his first love was surfing, at the, you know, you can't have children, you can't be married because your wife's not going to understand. So it's a very lonely life when you make that choice. And I was trying to tell him, don't make that choice. It's lonely. It's lonely to not have love in your life. And I'm just lucky in that I fell in love, and, you know, my wife doesn't care about surfing, hates actors too, but she married a surfer who acts, you know, an acting surfer. But that's, go figure. But our love transcends that. And you can't, you know, I'm just lucky that I could go that way, and I'm not just someone who's sacrificed his entire life, you know, to surf. There's a lot of, you can do anything and surf these days. That's the point of that story with the, you know, Mark Zuckerberg or Bart Spalding or other just ballers, you know, billionaires who love surfing and also are very successful in the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's really, you know, like you said, with the kind of the billionaire guys, it's just kind of taken off and exploding. Maybe I may have missed this one. Did you have a favorite horror movie? That one was in the chat for you.
Is it, you know, is it a favorite horror movie that I've watched or a favorite movie that I've been in? I mean, the favorite horror movie, the horror movie
that you've watched, maybe.
Yeah, watched. I mean, I grew up Wolfman, Frankenstein, Invisible Man, you know, Dracula. Mm-hmm. So I went and saw Nosferatu and loved it. You know, like I love Heredity, you know, Hereditary, and you know, The Devil's. Ty West makes great horror movies. You know, The Devil's House or something. I mean, Last House on the Left. You know, there's a lot of horror movies. Black Christmas. I've watched a lot of movies growing up, and then you know, now they make them they're so fucking petrifying, it's unreal. You know, I can't watch Terrifier, even though that's the biggest thing in the convention.
Yeah, Terrifier is crazy.
It's crazy. I'm thinking what they've been exposed to and what they can watch now without getting sick. And God, those guys are genius, man, who made Terrifier. But I can't. That's different, you know. I like a plot, you know, suspense and stuff. You know, that's a fucking terror. That is a
pure gore.
Real pure gore.
Good stuff. I'm just about out of questions for Mr. Philbin, guys. So if you have anything else, chime in. My last one is it's Point Break related, but it's a little bit more about me. If I was the 5th ex-president, what president mask do you think I should wear? Should it be something classic like George Bush, or should it be my boy JFK?
Oh yeah, JFK would be a great mask. You'd be lucky to get a JFK mask. You know, like that's a fucking good-looking president. You know,
yeah, right? I feel like Bodie, like he picked like Reagan because he was like spoofing him. You know, so like just when you guys were doing the accents, you know, I'm not a crook, and just like the voices, I'm like, oh God, I love it.
Yeah, it was great. You know? Peter Illich wrote a great script, and Kathryn Bigelow made a great movie. Now I'm lucky to be a part of it. Thanks for all your questions, man. That was kind of fun.
This is awesome, man. I'll take us out. Do you got to take a phone call, or you got to dip? If not,
no. Do what you got to do.
Okay, I'll do the little.
7 minutes left on my computer.
All good. I'll do the little outro, and you just wait for me, John, and then I'll say bye to you in the end. So that's John Philbin, folks. Hope you guys enjoyed the interview. Point Break, Tombstone, Children of the Corn, North Shore. I think we hit all the major hits there, John. So, yeah. Thank you very much. You're the man. Appreciate you doing this.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Stick around, sir. I'll talk to you in 1 minute. So that's it, guys. John Philbin, Point Break, super pleased to have that on the channel. Shout out to Lauren W. Lepre. Like we said, I think our top 5 of 2024 is dropping on his channel tomorrow. I believe John is going to be on Lauren's channel as well, if I'm not mistaken again. So shout out to everybody who came through. Fire, Pixie, Crypt, Rick, Slipknot. Hope you guys enjoying the questions, and definitely check it out. Of course, go get the Ultra Disc if you watch Blu-rays. That's out on Amazon. I don't think we really have much else. We're going to be back on the show, Paradigm Review Show, next Saturday, reviewing Evolutionary. So big shout outs to John Philbin. Follow him on Instagram and social media, and his website will be below in the description. Planet X Filmworks. This is the Actor Film Interview Volume 2, and we're going to have a bunch of new film updates coming soon. I'm Ross PXF. Like, sub, share. Click the join button for a membership, and tune in next time. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. John Philbin, Point Break.